little bit late. Thank you, Internet. Gotta love it when that happens. I want to say greetings, good evening. How you doing? 8 minutes after the top of the hour on this second day of June 2015. Fast Eddie Layne, live from Studio One. Welcome into Beyond Ringside, back to basics. Thank you to everybody listening in on the simulcast this evening, all the way through BeyondRingside.com, through the Beyond Ringside radio app, Shoutcast Win app, TuneIn Radio, Ustream. More ways to listen and more on the way. Situations are finally working out in my favor. I'm going to resume conversations with Apple. I know. I'm going to shoot straight. It's been called a lack of cashitis. If you've ever had the days where you've had the money to do something, but didn't have the chance to do it, and then you have the chance to do something, and you don't have the money to do it, welcome to my world. Plain and simple. Got a couple of things I'm going to hit on. There's an 800-pound gorilla in my neck of the woods in the central Alabama area, Birmingham, Alabama. What the hell? And that 800-pound gorilla is UAB football and UAB president Ray Watts. There is some good news and there are some what moments that have occurred. And before I get into that, let me go ahead and say this. In about 21 minutes from right now, I'm going to be joined by professional wrestling star. A lot of people know him as the Mempho Mofo. Mark Bravura slated to join me here on Back to Basics, part of the Tuesday night conversation, where everything is on the record and nothing's off the table. But longtime listeners, you're going to remember the last time Mofo was on, and we have a lot of fun. We really do. And it's been a long time coming for him to come back on the show, and really looking forward to having him on. Me and my 47 other personalities, thank you, Sybil. But coming back to the gorilla, I watched the commentary laid out by Watts from behind the podium. And for me, that was the biggest crock of non-committal horse crap I've ever heard anybody lay out in my life. If there is any one person who is now trying to hedge their bets and try to not come out smelling like they've got a ton of turds laying on their shoulders, it's Ray Watts. This is an individual, I'm sorry, he should just go ahead and step down. That's the nice way to say it. And I know that the faculty gave a vote of no confidence with the exception of one member of the faculty senate, Dean of Medicine. Old buddy. The student senate vote of no confidence, and God knows the media has given him no confidence, just like the rest of the Birmingham metropolitan area. Look, I've said this before and I've said it again. Ray Watts was supposed to be the hatchet man at the request and the order, and this is based on what I have heard, what I have read, and my own surmisal. You'll never get anybody to put this in writing, but this is the way that I personally see it on my side of the coin. The fact of the matter stands, Watts was the hatchet man brought in by Paul Bryant Jr. and the University of Alabama Board of Trustees. Why? Because UAB started to get a little momentum again. The little engine that could was starting to. They'd had their ups, they'd had their downs, and they're going to continue to have those. They would have continued to have those even without this controversy. But the fact of the matter stands, there is, and a lot of people, longtime Alabama fans, are going to remember Bear, a man I had a lot of respect for. One of the greatest college football coaches of all time. Bear laid it out there. UAB can have football all day long. They start getting good, we're going to cut it down because they're not going to pull recruits from Alabama. I don't have a problem believing that. I legitimately don't. But I'm going to lay it out there like this. And I want to say, from my personal cave, thank you to everybody who has been so active in the public eye, picketing on camera, on microphone. I may not have been as verbose about it over the last few weeks as I normally would be, but I'm trying to keep everything in perspective. I really am. And to everyone who has kept this thing alive on social media, thank you so much. I mean, look, I'm a UAB alum. I went there. A BS and BS. It's called marketing. Yeah, I know. Get it. But there's no real way out of this for Ray Watts. At least not in my opinion. Because after the press conference yesterday, if he comes back 5 minutes later going, we've got a donor who's going to help kick in for a new stadium, go Blazers, everybody is going to know he's full of caca. He spent more time yesterday dodging issues, dodging topics, and shoveling stuff around. Here, we're going to take this pile of moose turds and put it on the pile of pig turds and take stuff off the guinea pig turds and toss it over here on... Sorry, it just doesn't wash with me. Stuff like that never does. If you're going to stand and be that person, own it. Own it. Don't come across like you're Paul Bryant Jr.'s bitch. Don't come across like you're the University of Alabama Board of Trustees bitch. Own it. Stand there, have the backbone. I can use the term testicular fortitude. What, am I going to fire myself this week? I did that once. It didn't work. We're back. Have the backbone to stand there and say, okay, look, we got some bad data. Please, just tell the truth. We did it for the wrong reasons. We did it on hyperbole. We did it on hypothesis. We didn't do it on hard cold fact. We did it on the results of a study that was half-assed. And don't just sit there and say, and look, for my friends in our home market and for UAB alum and for those who've been following the story, please, if you haven't watched it, watch his statements, watch his body language. He is standing there like a little 7-year-old that has been caught red-handed. Well, and we're not going to be able to do this, and it's not going to be an instantaneous thing. And 2016 will get here before you know it, kids. Put me down for 2 season tickets. And I will say this. I used to be a t-shirt fiend. Everybody who knows me knows I used to be a t-shirt fiend. I've got probably about 400 different t-shirts that I've kept in great condition over the years. Every once in a while, I'll buy a jersey or a jacket or something like that. But if they make the UAB Blazer football jerseys public, as far as for public sale, damn right I'll buy one. To help support the team, I will buy one. Like I said, put me down for 2 season tickets in 2016. Even if I can't make the game, I'll still financially help where I can. I'll buy the tickets. And if I can't go, I'll call a friend of mine. Hey, I can't go. I got 2 tickets. You want to go? Okay, cool. Here's the name. It's that easy. And for those who made it out to UAB football last year, oh my God, homecoming was great. I loved it. No, they didn't fill up Legion Field. No, it wasn't over half full. Who cares? But there was still a show of support for the college. And that's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to be quite interested to see how Watts continues to hedge his way through this. Genuinely notice, kids, that you're not seeing a ton of other from the board of trustees, from the faculty senate, from the student government association. You're not really seeing anybody hedge because they don't have to. They said, we want the program. So I am glad to see that the 3 programs that were axed are on the way back. Step by step, little by little, I'm sure. But the damage, oh my God, the damage has already been done. But I'm optimistic. Will Bill Clark come back, please? Can you catch lightning in a bottle a second time? Look, and for a lot of people, it's like, they were 6-6. Trust me, that's lightning in a bottle. It was shades of improvement. It's not like they were going to contend for a national championship in 3 years. I'd be happy if they were contending for the Conference USA title in 3 years. But by the same token, they did some major damage when Watts, okay, I'm going to say they. Bryant Jr., who I'm still going to say, in my opinion, was the mastermind of this whole thing, and Watts was the hatchet man. So I will say they in that regard. And once again, this is my opinion. My side of the coin. My rant. Write your own. But there's been a lot of damage. Is the damage irreparable? I don't know. Can they rebuild? Hell yes. Will they rebuild? I hope so. But the students and the people who wear the green and gold proudly didn't deserve all this crap. Students who've already transferred to other universities, they've made their mind up, they're gone. That's it. There's a 95% chance it will not be resurrected in 2015, so we're going to be a year out. Which means the school has a year and a half to get it together. They have a year to get it together. Can Watts put a team back together? Yes. Can they field the team? Yes. And I'm going to tell you the truth. In my perspective, if I were young enough, I've still got 4 years eligibility. I didn't play college football. Yeah. Yeah, I'm 49. I'll get out there. I don't give a darn. But I'll say it like this. If I am a good mid-level, upper mid-level prospect, I'm going to look at UAB for one simple reason. The eyes of the country are going to be on them for that first game especially. The return of Blazer football. And I'll be willing to bet you that most students, most football players in that same boat will look at the UAB the same way. The eyes of the country are going to be on that field that day, on television, in person, whatever. So you know that you're going to have an opportunity for at least one day to step forward and shine in what's going to be a national plus spotlight. Do you take that risk? Do you take that chance? Hell yes, you do. So I'll put it out there. High school seniors going into the next season, think long and hard about this. You have an opportunity to step up to a program that is basically reborn now. Take the risk, take the chance. If you thought about playing for Coach Clark, yeah, sign on. If he comes back, yes, which I hope he does come back. If not, I know he's vacationing in Tahiti because Watts and the rest of the university had to shut him up. And that takes money. Hush money. Something I've been offered once or thrice. But yeah, I'll put this one out there. Every football player wants an opportunity to shine, if only for one day, on a purely national stage. I came here for this reason, and this is why I came here. I hope that they follow through. I hope those kids get that message. 2016 seems like an eternity away. But just like when Garth Brooks tickets went on sale for here in Birmingham and I bought 2 of them, it gets closer by the day. Only time will tell. And I hope the story that is told in this new chapter for UAB football is one that the entire state can be proud of. This is Alabama. There are people who can't afford to go to Alabama home games or Auburn home games. UAB's got a damn good ticket price. Blazers, right now, make it more for the people who've been talking about, well, if they come back, I'll go. Put me down for 2 season tickets. This ain't lip service. I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'll put my greenbacks on the green and gold 7 days a week. May not be a 6-6 season next year. It may be 4-8. It may be 1-11. But you know something? I'll stand with them. I'm not fair weather. I haven't been fair weather for the Braves. I'm not fair weather for the Hawks. I haven't been fair weather for the Falcons. I haven't been fair weather for the Lakers. I just can't stand Kobe anymore. Sorry. My game. My board, my rules. Kind of, sort of. A couple other things I want to hit on before we get to the bottom of the hour break. I caught one pure segment of Raw the first time around last night, and I walked in the door at the perfect time. It was the verbal showdown between Kevin Owens and John Cena. I have said this before in the last few weeks. I've said it a number of times over the last year. If there is one individual on a microphone right now who can walk into Bizarro World, who can walk into hostile territory, and, excuse me, sorry, my bad. Damn cough button. If there is one person who has shown on a regular basis that he can walk into hostile territory, take a microphone, and make a crowd his own, it's John Cena. And yeah, I agree with Kevin Owens about the factor of, yes, Super Cena and all that other stuff. I really do. I genuinely do. But by the same token, look, he delivers. And for everybody who has been jumping up and down about the match from this past Sunday night on the Elimination Chamber $9.99 per view, the match delivered. For anybody who thought that John Cena was on the downside, you got another thing coming. Cena showed that he could still step his game up at the drop of the hat. Kevin Owens proved he deserved to be on that stage. I'm happy for him. Look, I've backed Steen for a long time because I think he is talented. He is one of the best bigger men in this business. Drink. I knew, in my heart, I knew that John Cena and Kevin Owens were going to put on a great match. Not a good match, a great match. Because what am I, Canadian now? They both knew that the eyes of the world were going to be watching this one. How would Kevin Owens, on his main roster in-ring debut, be able to fare against the poster boy? I was wrong. I said that there was no way that Owens would go over clean. I was wrong. I have no problem admitting that. Ted Guinness said he called it perfectly last Thursday on the show with Ted Guinness. It is in rotation here on Beyond Ringside Sports Radio. When it comes around, I hope you will give it a listen. Ted calls it quite often, by the way. I think that was about the only match that I actually didn't call. I knew that the New Day was going to keep the belts. If there was one team I thought would actually take the belts, and I thought it'd be PTP. I thought the Primetime Players were coming back strong. And I was hoping that they would actually be able to do it. But I think the Primetime Players are in a position for a good title run down the road. Maybe 6 months. Do I think it's going to be Lucha Dragons next? No. Do I think it's going to be Los Matadores? No. You know, I believe a member of my team, and yeah, I call them my team, just like they call me part of their team, made the comment that Cesaro and Kid had a great run, but their time was probably done because they're not sure exactly what they can do with them. And I agree with the factor that there's like currently running about 8 or 9 tag teams, and most of them are good. And when I made my comment this past Sunday, look, let's go ahead and put this world in proper perspective. The two gentlemen under those masks, who everybody knew as Primo and Epico, are damn talented. The gimmick just kills me. It really does. It reminds me of the campy crap from back in the rock and wrestling era. Sometimes it's good, other times it's, did they really do this? And this is why And you knew I'd do this eventually. This is why I tell people, look, watching it on television is a great thing. SmackDown's coming to Birmingham in July. I'll be there. Did I get pissed off about anything to the point where I'm going to consider canceling my subscription to the network? No. But for everybody who is just sitting back, I watched a little bit of social media after the $9.99 preview, and people were like, I'm going to cancel my subscription to the network. Why? Look, it's one thing to just, when I canceled my one time, when I let my subscription go, I didn't say a word about it. I just let it go. That's it, done. And then I decided to pick it back up. I didn't make an announcement about it. So I'm going to sit back and say this. From me to you right now, if you're not happy with what's on the WWE network, shut up and cancel it. Don't watch. That way you don't have to complain. And we don't have to see you complain. Just let it go. Get rid of it. But if you think jumping up and down, I'm going to cancel my subscription, is going to get the attention of Vince and Hunter and everybody else up in Stamford, you're wrong. And I'm just going to shoot like this and say it just makes you look like a whiny little bitch. Truth. Plain and simple. The Hitman said it beautifully on more than one occasion. Hitman Big Daddy Cool, Ryan Adcock. If you're not happy, don't watch. The silent movement, I believe it was hashtag silent movement, that he and Vonda and some of their inner circle have started a while back. You don't have to talk about it on social media. I'll give you this little quick note before I go to the break. Remember the old phrase, and I'm old enough to where I can say it's an old phrase. Any publicity is good publicity. The fact of the matter stands. When you talk about a company, they count that as a social media impression. It doesn't matter if you say, I love this company, I hate this company is great, this company sucks. Anytime you mention a company by name, and they can pull that up and marker it, it is called a social media impression, and they count that. We had 150,000 social media impressions in the last 24 hours. I'm not saying we as Beyond Ringside Sports Radio. I wish that would be nice. It would be beautiful. But I will say this. There are companies that look at it like this. We had 150,000 social media impressions in the last 24 hours. They're not going to say that 548 of them said that the company sucked. They're just going to say, we got this many social media impressions. Ooh, the WWE Network's horrible. I'm not going to buy this anymore. Well, guess what? You just mentioned the WWE Network on a social media site. Guess what? It counts. They don't care what you said. They care about the fact that you said the name of their company. And I want everybody to keep that in proper perspective. Because it's the truth on this one. Plain, out and out, a mitigated truth. That's what you got to keep in perspective. Sometimes it's not how you say what you say. It's the factor that you said it to begin with. And that, my friends, is my side of the coin. Hang tight. Back to Basics rolls on in just a minute. When we come back, the Mempho Mofo going to join me right here for the Tuesday conversation. Stay tuned. This is Beyond Ringside. Back to Basics.
That's a rock and roll model, the hair metal heartthrob, your favorite wrestler, Matt Sexfells here, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside Radio.
When planning your next party or special event, insist on the best. Full Range Entertainment is a professional entertainment company providing a full range of services. From professional disc jockeys and MCs to catering and photography, when the details of your special day must be perfect, call us first. Wedding receptions, corporate parties, school functions, birthday celebrations, and more. We also have Birmingham's largest selection of karaoke tracks available. With over 40 years combined experience, Full Range Entertainment can provide you with the talent and professionalism you need and deserve to make your next event one you'll never forget. For more information on the full range of services we offer, call 533-HITS. That's 533-HITS. Or check us out on our website at fullrangeentertainment.com.
The To Be Determined Show live Wednesday nights, 9 Central Standard Time. Join myself, the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, the Grand Design, Clyde Braddock, and the Magic City Monroe, Fast Eddie Layne, as we take you to the edge of uncensored. Yes, we go uncensored, so make sure you have your earmuffs. Ask your parents, for those of you that are a little young, maybe under 18, but make sure if you have any heart conditions or any mental defects, please listen, because they may take effect right here live every Wednesday night, 9 Central Standard Time. Beyond Ringside Radio Network, beyondringside.com.
This is Merciless Ray Mercer, Olympic gold medalist and board member of Find the Dream, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside.
Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
Hey, this is the voice Ted Guinness, and I'm inviting you to tune in every Thursday night after Cause and Effect and after SmackDown goes off the air for The Show, the only show on Beyond Ringside dedicated to all things WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and your phone calls. That's The Show. Every Thursday night after SmackDown goes off the air, we go live right here on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network and the Beyond Ringside app.
The music plays, the microphones go hot, and yes, that's the phrase that pays. And we are live on a Tuesday night, 21 before the top of the hour. Welcome back into Beyond Ringside, Back to Basics, where everything is on the table and nothing is off the record. Mainly because I keep forgetting how to hit the delete button. Fast Eddie Layne, live from Studio One, and like to welcome back an old friend, and it has been way too long. The Mempho Mofo, brother, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, Eddie. How are you, my friend?
Fair, as I like to use, fair to partly cloudy, or to use the other gimmick phrase I've been using the last year now, just trying to keep my head above water and my toes away from the sharks.
Well, hey, those are good things to do, my friend. Good things to do. It was a pleasure to be back on your show.
I have been trying to find a way, and it's like you just gave me the platinum, not a silver, not a gold, but a platinum platter a few days ago with something that you put out there. But before we get on to that, I want to go ahead and ask what all's been going on, what you've been doing lately.
Well, business, as they say, has picked up since about January, February. I had to slow myself down for about a year, a little bit over. I was having some real bad post-concussion syndrome problems. I took a chair shot to the head about 18 months ago. That caught me exactly wrong. It didn't knock me out. It didn't give me a concussion, but it gave me vertigo, which was pretty miserable. It just hit me exactly wrong. It split me open. I had to get 30-something stitches in the top of my head. I had blood all over the place. But honestly, it didn't even really hurt. I just knew I was bleeding.
Right.
And it didn't knock me out. It didn't get a concussion, but a couple of days later, I was at the gym, and I benched, and as soon as I stood up, the world started spinning, and I fell down. And I was like, this is not good. And it just kept happening. Anytime I'd change position, I'd get really, really dizzy, and sometimes I'd even literally fall to the ground and had no idea what was going on, and I wasn't having headaches or anything like that, just this really weird dizziness, and eventually went to a doctor, and she didn't know what was going on, and then her PA came in and gave me a couple of tests. She's like, "You've got vertigo." Like, what the hell does that mean? And she explained that some crystals in my eardrum got knocked loose, and so whenever I moved, they would flip around, and my body wouldn't know where it was. So for about a couple of months, that happened all the time, which is about as miserable as you can imagine. And eventually, my wife was going to another PT. She had had hip surgery, and it turned out that his assistant had just gotten out of the military, and he had been specially trained by the military to deal with vertigo, because a lot of soldiers get vertigo from bomb blasts. So he gave me exercises to do for about a month and a half, and it finally started going away, and I was feeling better, and so I went back to a full-time schedule, and my body wasn't quite ready for it. So I was getting dizzy every now and then, and I was getting real bad headaches, and about the same time I tweaked my back, so I was not feeling real good, and I decided it was probably time to take some time off, and I went to the Legends NWA Fan Fest thing down in Charlotte last summer, and that was kind of my my test to see if my body held up for 4 days of workouts, and if it did, then I was going to keep going hard, and if it didn't, then I was going to take time off, and I was miserable for 4 days, and basically just wanted to not move. So I slowed it down for probably about 6 months, only doing a couple of bookings a month, and on shows that I could get through without having to do a main event level match.
Right.
And slowed things down, way less bumping, way less craziness than I was used to, and around about January, I started feeling a lot better. I was able to start working out like I was before and doing cardio, and I was going to places and training and getting in more, and ever since about January, I've been back basically every weekend, if not twice a weekend if I can. And things have been good. I've been getting out more and wrestling more regularly in different places and trying to add more places onto my list of spots that I go to regularly. So anybody out there who's looking to bring in a mofo, www.memphomofo.com or memphomofo@memphomofo.com. Hit me up and bring me in.
That's a bunch of mofoing going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of mofoing.
Yes, you can use that for a T-shirt. I only want 5%. Say what?
I said I stick to my brand. Everything with me is a mofo.
Yeah, I decided to go and stick with that instead of do the full introduction. I didn't know. I know that because of social media and Facebook and all that other good crap that you were because we have to take some of our nicknames off or our work names off and have to go to our real names. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
How much of a headache was that for you?
What?
How much of a headache was that for you to have to change one of the pages to go to the real when Facebook had their real name policy put in play?
Luckily, I've got a fake real name as well, so it didn't hit me very hard at all. I keep my my real life Facebook is completely separate, and nobody from wrestling is connected to it, and I try to keep it that way. I had a real bad problem with Twitter, internet, Facebook stalker earlier this year that went completely out of hand, and so I had to really put the kibosh on any sort of connection between the two. I even had some people who started randomly contacting real-world friends of mine, trying to get them to connect these people to me, and basically had to shut anybody down. Like, people who I know from the real world, I don't even let them like my Facebook page. Just stay away. It's not worth the risk.
You know, I normally hold this question until a little bit later in the interview, but I want to go ahead and pop this one now. It's what I affectionately call my 3-2 pitch. And based on everything that's been happening as far as the medical side goes, and I know this is going to have a bearing on it, but I'm going to lay this one out there like this. You know, I've always said that no matter what we do, whether it is pro wrestling, whether it's mixed martial arts, whether it's boxing, football, whether it's business, not just the business, but business, there's always lessons to be learned, and we normally learn something every time we have an outing. But I'm going to keep this one in the realm of pro wrestling. As it pertains to you directly, what has pro wrestling taught you about yourself?
Oh, man, it's funny. I was having this conversation with my wife not long ago. I battled stuff that, so many people out there have battled, and, people, lose their life over. I had tons of problems with depression and real bad bipolar disorder through high school into college, and just was not a happy person that, somebody that age should be. And it really wasn't until I finally let myself believe that I could be a wrestler that all that stuff went away. And it's weird to say. And I even said to her, this is going to sound stupid. She asked me when that stuff stopped. And I had great therapists that I worked with, and I'm not embarrassed at all to say that, who helped me a lot. But really, it was when I said, screw all the people who say you can't do this. Screw everybody who said they're embarrassed by it. Screw everybody who said they're ashamed of me for it, for wanting to do this. And just said, screw them all, I'm going to do this. And when I did that and trained and had my first couple of matches, that's when that stuff went away, because I finally got to be me. And the thing that I learned, number one, from wrestling is just be you. I would so much rather fail as myself than succeed as somebody else. And that's the number one. I mean, I've got a million lessons I've learned from wrestling. I've been lucky enough to work with some incredible guys and learn really incredible lessons from all of them. But that's the number one thing that I learned, is just be you. And you can't go wrong by being you. Because even if you fail at least you failed as you. So everything in my life flipped over on its head and started me on a path of success when I started wrestling and just let myself be me and let myself love what I wanted to love. I used to help guys meet women. And, they would say, well, I like this thing. Should I be embarrassed about that and leave it out? I'm like, no. Forget it. Never apologize for you. Ever. Never, ever apologize for you. If you like comic books and the girl doesn't, screw her. They're cool. They're something. And you don't want to be with her. If you think it's the coolest thing in the world, she will too. My wife is the most wonderful woman on the planet. She is amazing. Our interests do not align. We do not. She is a marathon runner. You couldn't make me run to save my life. If I had to run away from someone, they better be bigger than me and have a weapon, because I don't want to run, ever. She runs for fun. She is a million times more dedicated on that thing than I will ever be. I love pro wrestling. She couldn't care less. I love comic books. She couldn't care less. I love all kinds of stuff that she doesn't like. She loves stuff that I would never like. But, our values come together perfectly. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And, if I had based our connection on the things that we both liked, we never would have gotten there. She doesn't want to watch wrestling. She'll watch it if there's somebody she knows is going to be on. When Christian York got signed, she wanted to watch because she knew York. Guys that I know and I've come up with, when they're going to be on TV, then she'll see it because she knows them. Otherwise, she doesn't care. The things that she likes to watch, the Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that, I don't like to watch those things. The reason we got together is both of us were comfortable enough with ourselves that we were like, this is what I like, and if you don't like it, oh well, whatever. If you do, great. If you don't, whatever. So for me, that's the best thing that I got out of professional wrestling, is it let me be me, and it let me be comfortable with being me. I tell people all the time, how they say Bruce Wayne is the mask that Batman wears? Mm-hmm. The Mofo is the that I wear. I mean, Mark, real life Mark, is the mask the Mofo wears, because the Mofo is way more me. That's my government name.
Now, you mentioned comic book fan, and I remembered that from a previous conversation. I want to bring this one up because I've never asked this question. How hypercritical are you? Not hypocritical, but hypercritical are you when you hear of a new franchise being started or a new remake coming out?
I tend to give stuff the benefit of the doubt before I see it, but once I see it, I'm super hypercritical. Everybody jokes on Facebook that I don't like anything. So if I like it, then it must be really good. Because I pick everything apart. I do that with wrestling, I do that with writing, I do that with books, I do that with TV shows. It's just the way my brain works. I pick stuff apart. It doesn't mean that I'll hate it. It just means that I pick everything apart that I see. So when, something comes out, I'm going to look at it and go, Gal Gadot doesn't really look like Wonder Woman to me, but maybe she'll be good. When Batman was going to be Ben Affleck, everybody crapped on it. I was like, you never know. He's good in a lot of movies. He might make a good grumpy old Bruce Wayne. So I'll give stuff the benefit of the doubt on the front end. But once they start releasing stuff that looks like garbage, I'm going to say it looks like garbage. Like the new Fantastic Four trailer looks horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that's why I'm weird in that regard. There are some franchises, the first time around, I'll give them a chance. And if I know that they're getting ready to do a revamp on it for some reason, it's like, why are you changing all this because it wasn't broken the first time? Okay, never mind, you ain't getting my money.
Yeah, I can hear that. I can definitely hear that.
Well, I mean, and then loaded question. What'd you think of the Age of Ultron?
I loved it. I really liked it. I mean, I don't think it was the best movie, but I put it high middle of all the Marvel movies. But I mean, there were little things I disliked, but when I saw it at a 12 midnight show after I had wrestled, like I wrestled on Friday, I drove 3 hours to meet my buddy to see the 12 midnight show. I'm like cramping up in the movie theater, sitting there, another 3 hours after sitting down for 3 hours, and I was entertained all the way through. I thought it was good. I mean, my criticisms were tiny little things. Like, I thought James Spader was too jokey for me. I would have liked Ultron to be more of a villain, and I didn't think Elizabeth Olsen was very good. But other than that, I really liked it.
I thought that Ultron was played to a good degree due to the fact that he inherited a lot of what made Tony Stark, and that's the smart-ass wisecracks. I thought that would be...
Right. The first time I heard you say that back to me, I was like, well, that makes sense. I can understand going in that direction. Just for me personally, I would have liked more menace.
Yeah, and I think it was that sardonic side that that tied into a dark side, but also by the same token, remembering the fact that, and this is just, like I said, this is just me talking, when everything was put into place and something was taken to an extreme by the Ultron character, I'm going, I can see this. By the same token, it's kind of like, what was it the old John Wayne line was, I'm not going to hit you, I'm not going to hit you, wham, like hell I'm not going to hit you.
Right.
I kind of got that same Wild West mentality out of Ultron on that one.
I can see that.
And also, go ahead.
It was just a personal thing. Like, when somebody told me that spin of it being what he took from Tony, I was like, that makes sense. It's not the kind of thing that ruined the movie for me, because I still really liked the movie. It was just something that me personally would have liked to have more of a evil, menacing presence about him, and the wisecracks kind of took me out of that a little bit.
You wanted him to be more of the pure supervillain type, and I can definitely see that.
Yeah, that's my only criticism of it. I thought it was a really good movie. Like, I've heard people saying they really didn't like it, and I didn't get that at all.
I decided I threw myself a curveball because last night I had some things I was supposed to do, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back and watch it again. And it was actually better the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird circumstances because I think I've seen the first one, I don't know how many times. I think we're past 50 on that one, and I actually made myself sit back and watch it a number of times, but I've enjoyed it, and that's the thing about it. It has the way that they've written this series so far has an infectious nature to it, and they leave everything in a perspective and in a place where it's like, okay, what's next? And and here's your tie-in and crossover, because having been around this wacky world that that we fell in love with before we even got into it, that's been the number one question that I've had based on what you've seen and experienced yourself. Not first person from the office side, but first person from the in-ring talent side. Have you seen where there are some promoters who genuinely know how to build continuation like the Marvel series has done, and others who are like struggling to grasp that concept?
Well, I think there are definitely people that do. The problem is it's kind of a tough line to walk. Speaking from Fusion, when we had a building that we ran every month, we were able to be very continuous with our storylines because we knew who was going to be there and we're going to be back there in a month, and if we were running other events, we could work those in. A lot of places don't do that. We've gotten away. We don't run that building anymore. It just eventually stopped being fruitful for us, and we're running different venues, and we're usually only hitting the venue maybe twice a year now. you kind of have to change up the way you do things if you don't have television, because it's hard for people to really keep up with what the angles and storylines might be.
That's true.
We still do them, and we still keep them running, and we put the footage out there and put things on our website and the Facebook and the Twitter that people can follow. But you have to sort of walk a fine line of doing that and then making it, for the people who've never seen your stuff, it has to be accessible. There has to be some sort of way that at the beginning of the card you're making things make sense, or throughout the show you're making things make sense, or else they're going to be lost. If they don't know why this guy and this guy are doing whatever. You kind of sort of have to keep those things both in mind. And that's a question that the WWE and TNA and Ring of Honor don't necessarily have to deal with as much, because they've got television, and other companies that have television in the markets can do. I think it's definitely something that the business has sort of moved away from in crafting long-term story arcs, that you can come back to.
Right.
I told you this offline. I swore off WWE completely after WrestleMania. I didn't even watch WrestleMania, so I have no idea what they've got going on. They could be doing lots of long-term storylines. From what I've heard, they're not, but they could be. I try to keep up with Impact a little bit more, and it seems like they're doing, more storylines and more consistent storylines than they did before. But the problem is of being just a television property is you can't build to a climax. Even in a regular television show, especially now, even more so than when we were younger, it seems like they build to that mid-season climax and that season finale climax. If you watch The Flash or Arrow or any show like that, it's really built to those big high water marks as something that they're going to have something big happen at these two spots. But Impact is just a television program, and even Lucha Underground is just a television program. There's no high spot. Everything is sort of flatline across this arc, and they never have a chance to build to a bigger event because they don't have a bigger event to build to. I heard TNA is doing another pay-per-view, but it doesn't really seem like there's an arc leading up to that event. So if you don't have those bigger things to build to, it's really kind of difficult and almost, I don't say a waste of time, but kind of a waste of time to have these continuous storylines. They don't have anywhere to pay off other than what you're already doing. It's just a flat line instead of a build to one big thing. And I think that's one of the bigger weaknesses I see in the way that wrestling is being done now, is you don't have that big payoff. The WWE moving to the network, it seems like every show is a B show except for WrestleMania, and that's the A show. So other than WrestleMania, everything was sort of a flat line. I've heard they're doing even more special events. Now it's every 2 weeks instead of one a month, and it's just nothing can seem special if everything is out there all the time. So I think there are people that really know how to do long-term builds. It's just there aren't really opportunities to do that.
You heard what I said Sunday night when it came down to we're doing something every 2 weeks now. What the hell's so special about this anymore?
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
The social media.
And I know that they're trying to find their way in this new marketplace, but I don't know. It's just so diametrically opposed to how I was brought up and made to understand things. I mean, I know that Memphis ran every Monday night, so it was sort of the same thing, but there were definitely builds to bigger events. The Lawler Idol cage match, hair versus hair, was a bigger thing than the show that came the Monday before. Yeah, they wanted to have a good crowd at both of them, but there's definitely more of a build to that one than there were to other ones.
I understand that concept. The social media question: buy it, sell it, or shut it? Which one would you buy? Or if you had it, would you sell it? And which one would you just shut down? Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube? Which is which?
I wouldn't shut down any of them. I wouldn't sell any of them. I use them all. I think they're all valuable in different ways. I don't know why anybody would. I mean, to me, like, anything that lets you communicate with your audience is valuable as long as you use it correctly. I wish I had 5 more guys working for me and they could be more responsive on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. And that's one of the things that I do in my regular life is I run social media campaigns and digital marketing for big companies and try to help them craft their messages and messaging in those areas. So I see a lot of value in all of them. I see value in Instagram. I see value in Snapchat. I see value in Pinterest, and maybe not Google Plus, but almost all the other ones. I think you can really work with and get good value out of them. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing that we're all still sort of trying to figure out in some ways, just because there's so much of them. How do you stand out from the crowd and really make them work for you? But they all really can work for you. Twitter is so immediate. You can react to things on the fly and interact on the fly, whereas Facebook, kind of gives you a longer format to work with, and YouTube is where you kind of need to entertain. It's where you need to, the content that you're putting out there really has to hook people. The metrics show that if you get over a minute, you're not going to even get a minute. Within those first 10 seconds, you kind of got to give people a reason to watch, or they're not going to watch.
Right.
And you got to keep them watching longer to get them to a minute, and stuff really dies off after a minute if it's not really entertaining. That's why the people that do YouTube really well and are making a lot of money, they're brilliant. Even though if all of them know that they're brilliant, they found a way to make it work. And I think it's the kind of thing that anybody can make work for themselves if they find their niche. So I wouldn't sell or dump any of them. I'd buy all of them.
I think the one I'd buy first and foremost would be YouTube, and the one I didn't mention, I would buy LinkedIn second.
What was that?
I think I'd buy LinkedIn right after I bought YouTube.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to mention that one, just like I keep forgetting to update it. I have one.
Yeah, personally, LinkedIn's great. I haven't found a way to make it work for business yet, but I definitely think for people, it's a great way. I get headhunted on there, and I'm always weirded out. I'm like, how did you find me? Because I always forget to update my LinkedIn too.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one for my personal and one for one for the show itself, and it's like I need to get in and update more often. But I found it's like I have FastEddieLayne.com and I have BeyondRingside.com, and lo and behold, thanks to social media and the time that I'd been spending on that, I found myself neglecting both of those sites, with the exception of the media page on Beyond Ringside, trying to keep all the links for the replays active. And it's like I looked at my personal. It's like I really just let my baby go. Guess what? I will take time away from Facebook to start building this thing back up.
Right. There's so many of them, man.
Now, let me go ahead and ask. And this was one of the things you and I talked about in our chat originally. I really enjoy the piece that you wrote on your Tumblr account, memphomofo.tumblr.com. And it's things Mofo notices. What was the one thing, I'll just say the straw that broke the camel's back to really set you in motion on this one, because this didn't look like it looked like it was a build in progress. And then it's like something just finally clicked in your head. It's like, I'm putting this all on paper, to hell with it. We're going with it.
It really was. Like I say at the beginning of it, I don't know if it's because my brain started working better or what, or if it's because I've been going to new places, but it out of nowhere, things just started really sticking out to me and kind of bugging me. Like I've been going to Pennsylvania and New Jersey and down to North Carolina and West Virginia, and every place has sort of a different setup. At Fusion, we always like to have a monitor that the guys can watch, so they can watch the matches. And 99 times out of 100, it's me and maybe one other guy at the monitor watching it, even at the cards that I'm running. And these other events that I've gone to, it's the same way. I don't see anybody watching the matches, and that kind of really stuck in my craw, especially at one place that I respect them a ton, and they have a great company, and the guy in charge is a really smart guy, very old school in the way that he handles his company and the way he handles his business. And I just noticed, like, they have an enormous monitor that you couldn't miss if you're standing anywhere near it. And I noticed there'd be me and a couple guys watching the matches on the monitor, and I just didn't get it. I just didn't understand why people wouldn't watch that. And that was kind of, to me, one of the straws that broke the camel's back, and really what the final one was last month in Pittsburgh for the RWA. They didn't have their monitor. The guy that usually brings it had some problems, so he couldn't come, and you'd have to watch from the curtain, which, you know, is how we did it forever. It didn't bother me at all.
Right.
And Shane Andrews, who's a guy out of Knoxville, and Sanjay Dutt have been working a program up there, and every time they work, it's brilliant. I mean, they just have a great chemistry together. And they were doing their final match in their program. And I was like, well, I got to watch this, because I knew it was going to be great. And so I went, and the first match was a new guy I'd never seen before, so I wanted to watch that. And then Shane and Sanjay, maybe they were first, I don't remember. But I watched their entire match. And I was in the segment after them, so people are kind of like, hey, Mofo, come back here. And I'm like, no, I'm watching this freaking match. So at the very end, Sanjay hit this spectacular move, and I assumed it was the finish. So I walked away from the curtain, and I heard 1, 2, oh! Like, crap! I missed the last move. So then I heard him go another couple 30 seconds, and then the match ended. So when they came from the curtain, I was like, you assholes. The match was awesome, but I missed the finish because I thought the spot before was the finish. What was the finish? So they're like, oh, you're going to have to watch it back later. And they wouldn't tell me what the finish was.
Oh.
But that's really kind of what clicked it for me, is I'm on this card, and you know, the most experienced guys on it, like Tracy Smothers was there, and Jimmy Cicero, and Shane and Sanjay. Those guys have more matches than I do. But other than that, nobody else did. Like, nobody else on the card. I mean, there were a couple guys who were, you know, more veteran types, but there were probably 6, 8 guys who weren't, and a couple who were brand new. A couple that even rode in with Tracy, and they didn't watch any of the other matches. And I'm just blown away. I can't tell you the last card that I didn't watch any other matches on it. It's just not in my nature, you know, to not do that. And it kind of stuck, and it really pissed me off that nobody was watching any of their matches. So that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in one way. And the other thing was, I've been working with Brutal Bob Evans for a long time. He is one of my best friends in the business. He's one of the smartest guys I know. He's an incredible trainer. He notices everything. Everything. The guy can improve anyone. He really can. He's just really good at that. He's one of the best. And he came down and was doing little camps for us, usually just on the day of an event, you know, 4 6-hour things. And we'd have varying numbers of people coming in. And for the last one, when he came in, he was actually secretly working with Kevin Kelly, and Kevin was going to just come, and it would be a bonus to anybody who showed up. They'd get to work with Kevin, too. And I didn't tell anybody, because I was like, this is a challenge, everybody, see if their asses show up. So it turned out a couple of days before the training session, Kevin got called to go to Texas with Ring of Honor to do their commentary live in the building instead of doing it in post-production, so he couldn't come. And I was glad he didn't come, because only 2 people showed up to train with Bob.
Really?
And I was furious, because I get 6, 8 emails a week from people trying to get booked for Fusion in various levels of talent. Like, whenever somebody sends something, no matter how bad they are, no matter how unprofessional their email is, I respond to them, I have them send me stuff to watch, and I watch it. And there are, you know, varying levels of guys from good to horrible, you know. And I tell every one of them, this will improve you. This will help you get better. Like, there is no reason for you not to do this. It was $20. Like, come to this. You can still make your shot. It will be done by 5. You'll still make your shot. And people didn't come. And that combined with the people not watching matches was kind of the thing that pushed me over the edge. And I didn't want it to be an indictment. I wanted it really to be things that I'd noticed that had popped up, good and bad, because there are guys that do watch matches. There are guys who, if they ask you, you say, go watch the matches. They'll go and watch every match. There's a kid named Christian Tar, whose brother Dustin was on Team Taz with me, and Chris has been riding with me and working shows with me, and I tell Chris, watch the other matches, and Chris will watch all the other matches, you know, and other people, they'll ask you, and you tell them, and then you never catch them watching any other matches. There's some people that, it kind of creeps me out. They come to me, and they ask me to watch their match, and then want me to sit down with them afterwards. Oh, when the hell did this happen? But I'm glad to do it. I'm glad that they ask. And then there are other people, you try to talk to them after a match, you're in with them, and they don't want to hear a word you say.
Right.
So that's kind of, I wanted this to be something that I didn't expect it to get retweeted and sent around nearly as much as it was. I honestly just thought, I'm going to write this, and 3 people will read it, and that'll be it. I guess it kind of struck a nerve with people, and I didn't want it. I guess it kind of comes off negative. It's not really what I wanted.
No.
I wanted it to come as a kind of a simple thing that people can look at. Here's stuff that a guy who's done this for 12, 13 years now sees when he's on cards, and I run a company, so I book guys. And if I see people not doing these things, that makes a very negative impression on me. It makes it something, means it's a strike against them when it comes to working for me, or somebody asks me for guys for their events. I'm not going to recommend you if I see you doing these things. I've got a really good relationship with the Monster Factory and with CWF Mid-Atlantic, and they ask me for guys, or they'll call me about guys, and I send them my talent. We've got 4 guys from Fusion going up to the Monster Factory this weekend. We've got guys from Fusion that go down to CWF all the time. And if I see people that don't do the things I described, that doesn't put them on a list for me to have them go to the Monster Factory, because I don't want them going there and not doing these things and embarrassing me.
Right.
It's really that simple. So I didn't mean for it to, if it came off as negative, well, it came off as negative. Like I said at the beginning, if this seems like an indictment of you, then it is. Learn something.
Well, see, here's the funny part, because I read this start to finish 3 times. And I didn't come across any part of it that was genuinely negative. I've always sat back and said something, and this is what really struck me about the piece. It is one thing for people to sit back and criticize. It is another for someone to sit back and constructively criticize and leave the door open for you to interpret a positive message out of it. Because when you sit back and you look, case point scenario, and I'll bring up the camp idea. When you have an opportunity, and I have said this before, and a lot of it, okay, there are some camps that I've sat back and said, great idea. Love this person. I know it's going to be money well spent. And there are others where it's like, okay, and this person's done this, and they were trained by this person. Yeah, I'll weigh the pros and cons, but I'll still give the benefit of the doubt. And yet, lo and behold, case point scenario, the company with my home company, Global Championship Wrestling, at our Southern Legends Fan Fest, want to say it was 5 years ago, we brought in Dennis and Bobby, Midnight Express, for a seminar. And I was surprised, according to the owner, he said 20 people had confirmed. 8 showed up. And I'm sitting back going, first off, there should have been more than 20, because I know guys around the Southeast who could really use a handle. You could really use pointers. And when you have 2 of the best tag team wrestlers in history, think about it. And then lo and behold, it's some of the guys who didn't make it to it and didn't give a reason why they didn't make it. It's one thing to make it. It's like, look, I had a death in the family, can't make it. I've got to do this. Or I'm in the hospital, I got run over by a tank, I can't make it. But if you don't say anything about it, if you just blow it off, it's like, yeah, man, I'm going to be there. And then you never hear another word. And then all of a sudden, about a month later, hey, can I get a booking? It's like, what the hell are you thinking?
Exactly.
I
drove to Chicago and canceled 2 bookings. I had a double shot on a Saturday. I canceled them to drive to Chicago from Virginia to do a camp with Lance Storm, because he's one of, or arguably, the best trainer in North America. And I get there to Chicago, and there are 4 people there counting me.
Nuts.
4. None of whom were booked on the card that night. None of the talent booked on the card showed up to work with Lance. And it's not like you're talking guys who have been on WWE TV or Impact or anywhere else. It was an indie show. None of the guys showed up to work with Lance. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I was glad because there were only 4 guys, and it was me and one other experienced guy and 2 completely unexperienced guys. So I got to work with Lance by myself basically for 4 hours, and he helped me a lot. So I don't understand. I mean, I see Jim Cornette's doing one up in New England, and I wish I could go. It would probably end my marriage if I were to go because we're supposed to go on vacation that week. So I can't go. I really wish I could. If that one's not packed, I don't understand.
The one in particular that I would really like for you to expound on, 6 and 7 especially, the boo-boo face and the post-match boo-boo face. Because reading is one thing, but I want to hear your words on this.
These are things like, it was just drummed into my head when I was starting, especially if you're new, but no matter what, like, don't sell it. Don't sell it. If you're going under, don't sell it, and don't go bitching and complaining and moaning. I mean, you wouldn't believe kind of the underhanded, sort of cowardly things that people will do. I book and run Fusion, and I've had guys who they find out that things aren't exactly the way they want, and they go back to the locker room and bitch and complain, and then they go to where the ring crew is and bitch and complain, and they'll even go to fans and bitch and complain to fans. You just guaranteed I will never book you again.
You're right.
There's no reason to deal with this. Like, what is your problem? And it wasn't even, you're doing a stretcher job for so-and-so. It's just they didn't get to do the finish they wanted to do, There's another place on that recently, and literally the worst guys on the card are going behind the booker's back to complain to the owner about what they have them doing. Like, you're the worst team on the card. Like, and when you go, I've been asked, since I'm one of the more experienced guys, to go and relay the finishes from the booker. And I'm fine with that. Hey, so-and-so wants you to do this, and they want you over like this. And I look at their face, go all sour and frowny and unhappy with being told what to do instead of just being able to do whatever the heck they want. If you want whatever the heck you want, start your own company and go away. If you're working for somebody else, the booker gets to tell you what the finish is. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. We all are artists. We all want to have things our way, but if you're an actor, you don't get to change the movie script. You do the script. You can have input, but in the end, the director only gets to tell you what to do. Same in wrestling. The booker is the one that gets to tell you what to do because he knows the whole big story. And no, you can't bump the refs in the second match because we're bumping the refs in the main event.
Right.
You can't do this in this match because we're doing this in the main event. If we want you to lose on the spot where you go for the suplex and the guy pulls her foot and you get pinned, there's probably a reason we're doing that. Maybe that's to show later on we're doing that as a false finish. So don't change it. Do what we tell you. And then the post-match boo-boo face, I think this is another one that's sort of grown out of the movement from the matches that, I don't know if you know who Mike Howell is. He was Mike Maverick. He was one of the Ducks. I've gotten to know him over the last several years. We're friends on Facebook. He helps run Omega. Just a really smart guy. And he talks a lot about when he first started, it was all about who drew the house and how big was the house and the reaction and if we booked it the right way to have people come back next time and things like that. And he never heard anybody talking about who had the best match or who had the 5-star match or anything like that. It was completely a foreign concept. And now everybody talks about the 5-star match and having the perfect match and things like that. And to me, the post-match boo-boo face kind of comes out of that. If you're having the 20 years ago where you're worrying about who drew the house and if people are going to come back, you don't have the post-match boo-boo face unless there's no crowd.
Right.
Now guys come through, and if somebody screwed up a spot or if things didn't go perfectly or, the choreography was wrong, guys come through kicking and screaming and having this miserable look on their face like somebody busted up the best Candy Crush game. So that is the last thing you should be worrying about. I can't stand it when a guy comes through the curtain and he's got this miserable look on his face and he kicks something and walks through. And I understand being a perfectionist, but selling it like that and making a spectacle of yourself and burying the guy you were working with, that just really bugs me. And I have friends that do it, that come through the curtain, and they'll come through the curtain, I look on their face, and I'll look them dead in the face and say, wipe that look off your face right now. Right now. Be a pro. Be a professional. It's not what you're doing. I mentioned in there the lesson that I got from Adam Pearce about it always being your fault. And that's something that I apply as best I can to every part of my life, because it's the best advice I've gotten for anything. Because if you're always worrying about what the other guy did, and you don't figure out what you could have done to make it better, you're never going to get any better. And when guys come through the curtain with that post-match boo-boo face, they're all mad about what the other guy did and how they didn't get to shine the way they wanted to, or do this or do that. I care if the fans had a good time and enjoyed it, and the reaction was what we wanted, and they're going to come back. I don't care if you blew a spot. If you blew a spot, you probably shouldn't have been doing so many spots. If you're doing things organically and you don't have a million things planned, it's a lot fewer things to mess up. But I know it sounds like the stuff that everybody hears, and I'm like, oh, no, we got to plan this and we plan that. And I understand planning some stuff. I understand wanting your certain things to go just right. I get that. But sometimes then you can get messed up. If you don't have everything planned, there's a lot less to mess up. And if things get messed up, just go with it. Roll with it. Use it. It's going to happen.
Oh.
When you come back to the curtain, it's over. Let it go and figure out how you could have made it better.
That's the kicker for me right there, is because when I was first getting in and my first few years in the business, if I screwed something up, I'm the first one when I get back there. It's like, I'm going to sit down. And it's like, I was accused of having an attitude one time. And I said, no, I'm trying to figure out how I messed up. And it's like, what did you mess up? I said, I blew a spot out there and I'm not happy with the way it went because I messed up. And the guy I was working came up to me and said, dude, it wasn't that bad. I said, no, the fact of the matter is it's something I need to fix. I said, we've got training tomorrow. I want to go back over this and I want to work through this with you and I want to get it right. That way, if we ever have this opportunity again, I'll get it right next time.
Right.
And because anybody who knows me, I'm more hard on myself. And I'm saying that part to say this part, that previous part. I'm more hard on myself about the little things in life than I am about the big things. I can look at a mountain and go, oh, cool, mountain. I can trip over an anthill and go, son of a... I'll be like that 7 days a week. But I also said that magic word because granted, not everybody has facilities to do this on a regular basis. I know down at Global we have Mad Dog's House of Pain, and even if you could be first day trainee, you could be 5, 15, 20-year vet. Take the opportunity. If you've got a ring that you can go work out in, go work out in the damn ring. And that was something that when I was really getting into it, whether it was with any of the first 5 companies, we all had a place we could go. And it's like Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, whatever. And we'd all go in and hit our different workouts. And I would go back, me personally, I would go back and I would get with the person that I worked on a previous show if I had the opportunity to. And it's like, I want to go back over this because I messed up. I got to find out what I did wrong. And I want to make sure I don't screw it up again. But see, have you noticed a lot of people take that little word after they get really good momentum in ring, or you want to call it momentum, after they get full-time in ring, they kind of neglect that little part of the whole thing, and a lot of people forget what it's like to go to training?
Completely. I think that's part of the reason that people they have trouble getting people to come to training seminars, and they feel like they're above them. Like they don't have anything left to learn. They're hitting up to get booked. They don't want to come work with people who've been places they've never been and done things they'll never do. People get big heads very, 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 very easily. They think, oh, I'm a wrestler, and that was their goal, was to just be a wrestler. And it's not to get any better once they're a wrestler. They think that once they're a wrestler, well, the world is their oyster, and everybody should come to them and book them and give them a million opportunities. And that's just not the way it is. You always constantly have to get better. Like I said in the piece, I did Team Taz after I'd been in business for 9 years.
Yeah.
I had over 1,000 matches easily, and I got better from that 6 months than I probably did the 6 years previous.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can only learn so much from working with people at your level.
Exactly.
You've got to have people who are above you. That's why I was so lucky to come up in Memphis where there were still veterans. You know, now here in Virginia, like, I don't consider myself a veteran at all, but to other people, I am. You know, but there's no, you know, there's guys, like, unless you get Ricky Morton or you bring in a name like we've had Animal and guys like that, unless you import somebody, the veterans aren't around anymore. You know, I was lucky enough to have Bill Dundee and Ken Wayne and Motley Cruz and Tasha and, you know, Tracy Smothers and Dutch Mantell and guys like that who were around. So you'd work a show and there they are. And if you asked them, they'd watch and they'd give you advice. There's not so much of that around anymore. You know, it's not a lot of guys who've been around a long time who can give you advice. And there aren't a lot of people who respect that. You know, I mean, when we bring down Brutal Bob, I tell them everybody in my company knows to expect feedback and to accept it. You know, please give feedback to anybody you want to give feedback to. And there are some guys who blue-face Bob. Bob starts giving them feedback, and they get all pouty, like, why are you telling me what I did wrong? I did great. No. Listen to Bob. Bob knows his stuff. I put on Facebook today advertising the training seminar. There are more Bob Evans guys in WWE than there are Tough Enough guys. There are. You know, this is a guy who's gotten dozens of people paying gigs. Why wouldn't you want to work with him? I don't get it.
Exactly. Oh, real quick about the television, about the watching the monitor thing. This past Saturday at our Global Warfare show, what's funny is we have a good working relationship with Curtis Hughes, Total Protection, Mr. Hughes, and he came in to work our show. Well, lo and behold, for the first few minutes, you know, he was at his merch table for the first part before the matches got started. He came back at, about halfway through the first match, but he was sitting back, and when nobody was there, he would be watching the match from his table. And then he realized, I need to be back in the back for a second. So he came to the back. Lo and behold, while we've got chairs galore around a monitor, which is a 32-inch television set, CRT edition, not a flat screen, but a big one, you know, old school, heavy. And he wasn't watching that. I'm at the broadcast position, and I've got a split in the curtain right behind me. And I feel a tap on my shoulder. I'm going, what's up? He said, do me a favor, take a half step to your left. I said, sure, what's wrong? He said, nothing, I'm trying to watch. And it was Mr. Hughes.
Wow.
I mean, think about this. The man's been on WWE. The man's been in WCW. The man's been all over the freaking world. He's watching a match through the curtain instead of on the monitor. I guess, now tell me that ain't real school.
It is. That's awesome.
But real quick, let me do a reset for everybody listening on the live side of life. On this second day of June 2015, it is 29 minutes after the top of the hour, 10:29 Eastern, 9:29 Central, 7:29 Pacific time. We'll be on Ringside Back to Basics, live from Studio 1, the Magic City Motor Mouth, being joined by the Mempho Mofo on this Tuesday conversation. Dude, can you believe an hour has flown by this fast?
It's just splendid by, didn't it?
Say what?
It just splendid by.
Honestly, it did. Now, real quick, you're making a reference to different seminars coming up, and I know that you've got one advertised on your Tumblr site for August 8 and 9. That's going to be off. That's a little bit off in the distance, but that's going to be in Gloucester, Virginia, right?
That's correct. In Gloucester, Virginia, at the Gloucester Moose Lodge. We wanted to announce it ahead of time so people couldn't complain about not having the money. It is 10 weeks away. It is $100. 2 days of training from 10 until 5 on Saturday and Sunday. It's 10 weeks away, $100. It means if you save $10 a week, only $10 a week, you can take part in the seminar. We are limiting it to 24 participants, so this is a small class. It's with Brutal Bob Evans and Kevin Kelly, two of the main talent evaluation coaches for Ring of Honor. Ordinarily, to do this, you have to pay, I think it's like $300 for a 2-day camp with Ring of Honor. And they have a lot more than 24 people. This is limited to 24. Once we get to 24, we are not taking any more. 24, that's it. Right now, we're not quite at half of those spots being filled, so anybody who's interested should definitely contact Fusion Wrestling on Facebook. This is an exclusive opportunity. I have gotten to work with Bob and Kevin on a couple of occasions, and they've helped me out tremendously. Everybody I know who's worked with them says that they have helped them out tremendously. Bob has worked with a number of guys and helped them get signed with WWE. Ira Stevens, Damian Sandow credits Bob with getting him his developmental contract. Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, Hanson, the list goes on and on and on as guys who have been helped by Brutal Bob. Kevin Kelly used to work in talent relations for WWE. He works for talent relations in Ring of Honor now. He's another guy who's helped countless people get paying jobs in the business. Together, between Bob and Kevin, we're looking at least 50, probably closing in on 100 jobs that they have gotten for people, paid jobs. And for the first time ever, and probably the only time for a long time, Bob and Kevin are coming to the Mid-Atlantic to host a 2-day training camp. August 8th and 9th, 10 till 5, both days, Gloucester, Virginia. On Saturday, it'll be at the Gloucester Moose Lodge. On Sunday, it'll be at the Gloucester CrossFit, which is right across the street. Only $100, 10 weeks away. Save yourself $10 a week. That's lunch at McDonald's, one day out of the week, and you'll have the money. If you want to secure your spot, it's a $50 deposit. You contact Fusion Wrestling on Facebook or email us at fusionwrestling@bravuraonline.com. You can secure your spot, guarantee it. Like I said, we're cutting it off to 24 people. So if we get to 24 people, nobody else is getting in. You're going to get a lot of individual attention. You're going to get a lot of time with Bob and with Kevin. This is something you don't want to miss. Trust me, as someone who's worked with them, I guarantee they will make you better. So if you're interested, if you're a professional wrestler, if you're trained to be a professional wrestler, this is something you want to do, trust me on this. If you've got a trainer who is worth a darn, he will tell you that you should do this. So look out. Get on Fusion Wrestling on Facebook. Go to Fusion Wrestling, fusion-wrestling.com. Look up the information. Email us, contact us. Make sure you get to be a part of this.
Now, speaking of the Gloucester Moose Lodge, I just got through killing a milkshake, so my diction is going to be a little bit off, so I'll try that one again. Speaking of the Gloucester Moose Lodge, there, got it right the third time. You and this facility have a lot coming up in the very near future. Would you like to pass along some of the information?
We do. Coming up on June 13th, we have an event called The Unusual Suspects with a very special main event that night. It's the Unusual Suspects match. It's a 6-way elimination match featuring 6 men who have never held the Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight title. They will all be battling for a chance to win a Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight title shot on September 19th at Brutal Games, which will be in King William, Virginia. It's a very special match there on June 13th at the Gloucester Moose Lodge for Unusual Suspects. Also in that event, you will have the opportunity to meet Ivan Koloff, the Russian Bear, former WWF World Heavyweight Champion, former NWA World Tag Team Champion, Hall of Fame professional wrestlers, one of the greatest villains in the history of professional wrestling. We'll be at the Gloucester Moose Lodge. We'll be doing a meet and greet from 5 until 6 p.m. at the Gloucester Moose Lodge. You can get your autographs, you can get your pictures taken with him, and all the other superstars of Fusion Wrestling at Unusual Suspects. If you get a VIP ticket, it's only $20 for a VIP ticket, $10 for general admission. You can meet all the stars of Fusion Wrestling and Ivan Koloff. Plus, you get to see an incredible night of action featuring that Unusual Suspect match I mentioned. There will also be a Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight title match featuring the champion, Diamond Victor Griff. He won the title in January in Gloucester, and he'll be taking on Lee Valiant. Diamond Victor Griff has been pretty much undefeated for almost 2.5 years. Only one man has defeated him in those 2.5 years, and that was last October as part of the King of the Mid-Atlantic tournament, when in the semifinals, Lee Valiant upset Diamond Victor Griff prior to Victor Griff winning the Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. And on June 13th in Gloucester, Virginia, Lee Valiant will challenge that man. He will challenge for the Heavyweight Championship when he goes one-on-one with Diamond Victor Griff. Also in tag team action, the Old School Empire of Eddie Layne and Mike Booth, possibly the greatest tag team in the history of the Mid-Atlantic, will be taking on Wise Guy Jimmy Cicero and his son, Gentleman Jack Cicero. And in the match that I particularly am very, very interested in, I, the Mempho Mofo, will be returning to Gloucester for the first time in over a year to get my hands around the scrawny little neck of my former best friend, number 1, Jefferson Early. The last time that I was in Gloucester, and this is when I mentioned my concussion problems really starting, after a match, Jeff decided to have his little buddy Neil Sharkey hold a chair up to my head and super kick it into my skull. So I haven't been wrestling in Fusion Wrestling for over a year. A year of my life a year of my legacy, a year away from the house the Mofo built, Fusion Wrestling, because of my former buddy, Jeff Early. A man that I pulled up from the gutters. A man I took from the curtain jerker position and made into one of the best tag team wrestlers in the history of Fusion Wrestling. Before I came on the scene, Jeff couldn't keep a tag team partner. He couldn't keep out of the opening match. He was running around in board shorts pretending to be a surfer. I put him together with the A-lister Zach Hilton, created A1, and turned them into the most decorated tag team in the history of Fusion Wrestling. And I was thanked by my little buddy by putting a chair up against my head, super kicking it into my skull, and sending me away from my home for a year. So on June 13th, at Unusual Suspects, the Mofo gets his hands on Jeff Early. And I can tell you this, fans, I'm going to tell you this straight out. I don't care if I win. I'm not going to try to win. There is 0% chance I pin Jeff Early, because I'm not going to try. There is 0% chance that Jeff Early submits, because if he tries to tap out, I'm going to break his hand. If he tries to submit, I'm going to shove my fist down his throat. I will not let him quit. If he gets knocked out, I'm going to wake him up. If the referee tries to disqualify me, I'm going to kick the referee's butt. If the referee tries to count me out, I'm going to beat him up. If the referee tries to count Jeff out or disqualify him, I will beat up the ref. This match will only end when I get tired of beating up Jeff Early. Not a second before. I'm not going to pin him. I'm not going to let him submit. He would definitely not pin me, and there's no chance that I'm going to submit. This will just be a beating. A long, long, sustained beating until I get tired. And I've been doing a lot of cardio, so it could go on all night long. That's Unusual Suspects, June 13th, Gloucester News Lodge, Gloucester, Virginia. 5 great matches, plus the opportunity to meet former WWF World Heavyweight Champion, the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff. VIP tickets, $20. Joint admission tickets, $10.
I just have one more quick question that I'd like to ask. Can you tell me how you really feel about Jeff Early?
Oh, sir. This doesn't even scratch the surface of what I want to do to this guy. It doesn't even scratch the surface. Imagine that this is almost like my child. I saw potential in Jeff Early when no one else saw potential in Jeff Early. When the promoters are saying he would be a beach boy, be a boy of summer. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about Jeff Early. He was opening matches. He was having a different tag team partner every week. Nobody wanted Jeff Early. But I saw something in him, and I raised him up. I turned him into a star. I put King Kong Marcus Dowling with him. I put Zach Hilton with them, and I made them stars. I made them the greatest tag team in the history of Fusion Wrestling. I made them part of the Rapture with me. We're the most dominant faction in the history of the Mid-Atlantic. I made something of the man. I made him into a top-level competitor from nothing. And this little gap-toothed, stank-breath weasel named Neil Sharkey starts coming around and chirping in Jeff Early's ear about how great he could be. And how he should be the champion. He should be the big guy. And somehow that gets in Jeff Early's brain. Rather than loyalty to the man who made him, he decides he wants to go with this weasel. And that's fine. If he had just said he wanted to go with the weasel, I would have wished him well. Instead, he decided he would make a name by taking me out. But you see, I always taught Jeff, if you're going to end somebody, you end them. When I ended Sean Denny, he never came back. When I ended Marky Denny, he never came back. When I ended C.A. Elliott, he never came back. Stephon Smith, the list goes on and on. Guys, when I decided they needed to go, they went, and they never came back. Jeff tried to end me, and he left me breathing. He didn't learn his lesson from me. His first lesson from Neil Sharkey was a failure. And that's the problem for him, is the Mempho is still breathing. And he will still be breathing at the end of June 13th. He will still be breathing at the end of Unusual Suspects. But the Mempho can't guarantee that for Jeff Early. Because if I want to, I will end him. And when I end you, you stay ended.
I really enjoyed you coming on this evening. It has been a tremendous pleasure to have you back on board. First off, before I go any further, do me a favor. Please don't be a stranger. You know, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You know the damn door's always open, man.
You know what? I can honestly say this. This is my favorite podcast to come on. This is my favorite show to come on. Above all of them. I love them. I really, I think we've got similar feelings about things, and sometimes you can disagree. I really enjoy it. You know, this woman, I love working with Alice Radley when I get the chance. She's got a great podcast that she does. You guys, you know, maybe you should talk, because we're all like both of you. You probably like both of each other.
Always possibilities. Do me a favor. I made a reference to this before we went on air, and I saw the post on Facebook just before we went live, and it was for hashtag Stand Back from Fusion Wrestling. You've got a Vimeo on-demand channel, right?
We do. We have a channel on Vimeo where we upload our previous events. I wish we were getting them up there faster, but, you know, there's a lot of workload to get that done. But if you go to the Fusion Wrestling Facebook fan page, we constantly put up links to our Vimeo shows. We've got probably 20 of them up there up now. Events featuring the Hurricane, events featuring Gunner, events featuring Scrap Iron Adam Pierce, Road Warrior Animal, X-Pac, plus all the stars of Fusion Wrestling guys like the Pain Train Preston Quinn, the Experienced Damian Wayne, number one Jefferson Early, myself, the Mempho Mofo, the A-lister Zach Hilton, Big Time Mike Booth. The list goes on and on and on. If you want to see great, traditional, old-school Southern professional wrestling action where wins and losses mean something, where rivalries are real, where the matches pay off, where we have a stipulation, even though that stipulation is going to be upheld. If you haven't seen a real Texas death match with the real rules, where if falls don't end the match and you get 60 seconds to recover, and if you're not at your feet in a 10 count, the match is finally over. If you want to see a Texas death match, we have Texas death matches. And what makes it even better, all of these events are only $5. That's it, $5 for any event on our Vimeo site. You can check out our War Games event where myself, Jeff Early, and Zach Hilton took on the Pain Train Preston Quinn. Everything's Better with Aiden Chambers and Brandon Day with the Geordie Bulldog, Marky Denny as the special referee. You can see that event for only $5. You can see me and Preston Quinn battle for the Fusion Wrestling Heavyweight title in a street fight for only $5. And that's just one match on the event. All these cards have at least 5 great matches. We're looking at 2 hours of entertainment for only $5. It's all in HD. Tremendous value, only $5. Check it out. Check out all of our events on demand on Vimeo.
How can everybody track down Fusion Wrestling all across the web?
All across the web. Well, first we're going to go on Twitter. That's Fusion_VA. That's at Fusion_VA. On Facebook, it's Fusion Wrestling Online. That's Facebook.com/Fusion Wrestling Online. If you want to check us out on our website, that's fusion-wrestling.com, and you can check out all of our great events, everything we've got coming up. We've got our full schedule for the rest of the year that everybody's going to want to check out. If you're anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic, the best wrestling action in the Mid-Atlantic is Fusion Wrestling. So check us out at Fusion_VA, Facebook.com/Fusion Wrestling Online, or Fusion-Wrestling.com.
And how can everybody track down the Mempho Mofo?
Well, the Mofo is all about being the Mempho Mofo. So, on Twitter, it's at Mempho Mofo. Website, www.memphomofo.com. And on Facebook, it's www.facebook.com/Mempho Mofo. You might have to check your preferences, because if you have your filter up way high, Facebook considers mofo a bad word. You might check your preferences. If you search for me, I will definitely come up, but sometimes if you just type in the URL, it might not work, depending on your preferences. But if you go to Facebook and you put in the search and you put Mempho Mofo, I'm the only one. There is only one Mempho Mofo. So check me out there. So it's at Mempho Mofo on Twitter, Facebook.com/Mempho Mofo, and MemphoMofo.com.
Brother, it is greatly appreciated. Thank you again for being so generous with the time tonight. It is definitely glad to have you. I'm glad to have you back on board.
Pleasure to be on with you, Eddie, my man. I love it.
Hang tight 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, our good friend, the Mempho Mofo, once again has just gone beyond ringside. Hang with us. Back to Basics rolls on in just a minute. Stay tuned.
This is Larry Goodman, GWH News and Notes, and you're locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Hey, this is Stuart Couch from the Cause and Effect Thursday Night Throwdown. Catch us here every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
I'm addictive. I'm expensive. I'm Byron Wilkine. And ladies, Big Daddy Yum Yum is locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Howdy, friends. This is the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne, with your invitation to join yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman and the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, every Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, for Beyond Ringside Live. Wrestling, mixed martial arts, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Keep your eyes open on BeyondRingside.com for all of upcoming show information, and of course, catch us on social media as well. Until then, we'll see you this Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, for Beyond Ringside Live on the Beyond Ringside Radio Network.
This is Dr. Tom Pritchard, and if you want to listen to the best in professional wrestling, get locked in to Beyond Ringside.
Sunday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern here on BeyondRingside.com. Join us for the Midnight Black Mass. Myself, the Reverend Dan Wilson, brings you the dark gospel of professional wrestling, uncensored, unedited, uncut, and not for the faint of heart. You can find out more about us at youtube.com/pottyhumor or subscribe at Potty Humor on iTunes and Stitcher today.
This is Bob Allen, co-author of Gordon Soley, Something Left Behind, and the Soley Chronicles, and you're locked into Beyond Ringside. This is Jeff Damelin from Deadliest Warrior on Spike TV. Hit me up on my website at www.jeffdamelin.com. You're locked into Beyond Ringside.
And this is Kenny Kip Kennedy, master of Kenny's Kempo Karate.
Hier spricht Tassilo Jung von Western Extreme Wrestling.
This is the Dark Child, Chance Crawford, NWA National Heavyweight Champion.
This is the Temptation, Sean Tempers.
This is Jacoby Boykins, a.k.a. the Alabama Ambassador, Mr. 256.
This is the Bee's Knees, the Cats Pajamas, and the whole shebang. Johnny Gargano.
This is Bill Behrens, and you're watching, you're listening, you're experiencing Beyond Ringside. And you are a better person for it. Trust me.
I think the hot dogs are going to get cold. Welcome back into Back to Basics, 8 minutes before the top of the hour. Getting ready to head for the Radio Ranch on this Tuesday night. Only got a couple of minutes left. A few more things I want to hit on real quick. By the way, thank you again to the Mempho Mofo for coming on this evening. It's absolutely cool as hell having him on board. Always great to have him on. And folks, like I said, and you heard him say it here, there are some great opportunities coming up in the very near future, sponsored by Fusion Wrestling. Once again, August 8 and 9. 2 nights, 2 days, 10 to 5 p.m. Open to trainees, open to active wrestlers. Only $100. From Brutal Bob Evans and Kevin Kelly. Talent coordinators? Yes, definitely. Look, I agree with a number of the things that we have put out. I mean, look, I agree with what Mofo said in that piece that he wrote. And this is something that I've said for a long time too. When you have an opportunity, and you have an opportunity to get in-ring and train and get pointers and tips from people who've been there and people who made an impact, a genuine impact, do it. You will be helping yourself, and it's money well spent. And remember, there's only 24 spots. There are only 24 slots. Pick a word. That's why I was screwing up the English vernacular on that one. And I wasn't kidding when I said I killed a chocolate chip cookie dough milkshake. Yes, I know I'm trying to lose weight, but still, every once in a while, I can have a cheat moment. And also, on the 13th, looking forward to it. Wish I could be there. I wish I could be there. The Unusual Suspects. It's going to be a good show. I love the lineup. There's a lot of names that I definitely recognize, and a lot of names I've heard some stuff about. If I were close, I'd be there. Of that, there is no doubt. Speaking of upcoming events, so we're looking at things from the second day of June. Tell you what, starting on June 3rd, of course, the weekly traditions. Ohio Valley Wrestling at the Davis Arena, 4400 Shepherdsville Road. Thank you, Chase. Louisville, Kentucky, 7 p.m. bell time. Check out ovwrestling.com. Combat Zone Wrestling Dojo Wars Wednesday night, June 3rd, 110 Harmon Drive, Suite 304 in Blackwood, New Jersey, 8 p.m. start time. Wednesday, June 3rd, Rockstar Pro at the Rockstar Arena, 1106 East 3rd Street in Dayton, Ohio. That's going to be a 7:30 p.m. start time. Wednesday, June 3rd, Tough, T-U-F-F, Tough Pro Wrestling, 1723 South University Boulevard in Middletown, Ohio, 7:30 p.m. start time. Check out Tough, TUFFPRO-wrestling.com. Thursday on the 4th, USA Championship Wrestling at the OMAN Arena, 179 Allen Avenue, Jackson, Tennessee, 7:30 p.m. start time. June 4th, that Thursday night, All-Star Wrestling at the Madison Civic Center in Madison, West Virginia, 7 p.m. bell time. On June 5th, our good friends over at Pro South Wrestling, 627 Southern Avenue in Piedmont, Alabama, 7 p.m. bell time. On Friday, June 5th, Empire Wrestling Federation action will take place at the EWF Arena at the KOC Hall, 4315 North Vincent Avenue in Covina, California, 8 p.m. bell time. Friday, June 5th, Santino Brothers Wrestling at the Santino Brothers Dojo, 5640 Shull, S-H-U-L-L Street, Unit S, Bell Gardens, California, 8:30 p.m. bell time. This Friday, June 5th, Ring of Honor at the Gateway Center, Collinsville, Illinois, 7:30 p.m. bell time. Friday, June 5th, 3XW Wrestling at the Des Moines Social Club, 900 Mulberry Street in Des Moines, Iowa, 7:30 p.m. start time. Friday, June 5th, Universal Wrestling Council, 800 Greenbrier Road, Kinston, Kinston, North Carolina. Also, AIWF MSWA at the Crossville National Guard Armory in Crossville, Tennessee, 7:30 p.m. bell time. Check out Facebook.com. That's a long URL. I thought it was going to be a short one. Sorry. Also, Friday, June 5th, XWA at the Delphia Club, DELPHIA. I hope I pronounced that right. If not, I will probably get lambasted by both Sudbury Boy and Daryl B. Good friends of ours who listen on a regular basis, guys. They always great to see y'all when you're in the chat room. And I haven't looked at the chat, and I'm probably going to get barbecued because probably both of them in there going, "No, you say it this way." At the Delphia Club, CO102, Sudbury, Suffolk, in the UK. Also, Friday, June 5th, AIWF Savage Championship Wrestling at the Marmot Rec Center, 8505 McCorkle Avenue in Marmot, West Virginia, 7 p.m. bell time. Good friend of ours, Phil Stamper, actually two good friends, Phil Stamper and Nate Stein, help do a lot to put that list together, and there's so many events coming up. There are some great events going all around the world. Saturday, June 6th, Insane Championship Wrestling at the Belconnen Community Theatre in Belconnen, Australia, 5:30 p.m. local time start. And I want to try to find the time to start putting together these breaks again to where I would be able to start mentioning shows during the commercial spots. But my time sometimes is so limited, I don't get the opportunity. And I apologize for that. But you have my promise that I'm going to do everything I can to start getting getting as we are back to basics on this episode. I am trying to get everything in place to where I can put things back the way I want them to be and where I feel they should be. Also, Saturday, June 6th, Disciples of Christ Wrestling at Winders Lions Club, 354 East Broad Street, Winder, Georgia. I think that's going to be a 7:30 p.m. bell time. I always get scared when I do this when it comes to a pro wrestling promotion. It calls itself Flatline Pro Wrestling. I would love to find out the origin of that name, why they decided to choose that. I'll let you all run with that the way you want to, and if you know the answer, at Fast Eddie Layne or at Beyond Ringside on Twitter. Flatline Pro Wrestling at the Patriots Park Gymnasium, 5445 Columbia Road, Grovetown, Georgia, 8 p.m. start time. Now, I made the reference earlier to the segment on Raw with Kevin Owens and John Cena. And this will be my go home. This is my last call for the night. Both gentlemen turned in the promo. And I'm always very meticulous about the way that I listen. due to the simple fact, coming out of the build for that match, which was very short build, the match was dynamite. But they had announced the same night that they would be going back at it in 2 weeks at Money in the Bank, exclusively on the WWE Network. Look, timing is everything when it comes to a promo. You have to genuinely get it when the time comes to say the right thing at the right time to your audience. Critical, always. Crucial, always. It's mandatory. You can't just go out there willy-nilly and shoot from the hip. You have to know that what you're going to say comes across to the crowd in a clear, concise manner that they can wrap their heads around and wrap their hearts around and get in behind you. Cheer you if you're the good guy and boo you if you're the bad guy. Face, heel, good guy, bad guy, rudo, technico, doesn't matter. And it's just as crucial, and sometimes more so, for the heel than it is for the babyface. The reason being, I lay it out there like this, and this is the first time I've ever said this in a public forum, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I doubt you will. Pro wrestling, in and of itself, is a business and a sport driven by evil. Think about this one for a second before you snap judgment. It is a business driven by evil. I'm going to leave you with that thought. And I'm going to run with it tomorrow on my side of the coin on the To Be Determined show. But I want you to think about that. Evil plays in pro wrestling more so than good. That's not a veiled shot. That's not a derogatory comment toward anybody who works in the sport or in the business, Drink. Again, it is the truth. Think about it. Put it in perspective and think about it for once, or for a minute, or two, or an hour, whatever feels comfortable. Because remember, if it feels good, do it. As long as it is not illegal, immoral, unethical, or fattening. In other words, everything I've done today. Be sure to check out at Beyond Ringside on Twitter, Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside is our Facebook friends page. Yes, it is, but we're at 5,000 friends. I can't take any more friends. Please go to the fan page. Facebook.com/Beyond Ringside Live. For me personally, at Beyond, For me personally, at Fast Eddie Layne, LAYNE on Twitter and on Instagram. The home site is fasteddielane.com. Please remember, for Beyond Ringside branded products, you can catch on replay through beyondringside.com. The online station is always on. Through the media page, beyondringside.com, find previous episodes and interviews. Through iHeartRadio, check out the show's podcast tab over on iHeartRadio's mobile app. You can find us there. You can listen through iTunes, Podomatic, Spreaker, and Stitcher as well. Thank you for everybody who's been checking us out on replay. Just as much as I say thank you to everybody who takes the time to make this appointment radio, and I do thank you for it. Greatly appreciate it. We were talking off air just a minute ago about, and it's been a while since Mofo had been on, and I told him about all the different strides that we had made, that I had pushed for Beyond Ringside, because everybody's always really cool about the way that they say things. Yeah, Stan, hey, dude, what's up? Sorry about that. I didn't see you. I just now looked at the chat. Shoot me later. And by the way, I will say this. If y'all missed Sunday night after the pay-per-view, Wrestle Rage Radio post-pay-per-view edition, it was a damn good time. Check it out. The replay is on here on the station. Now, I've been meaning to do this because we've been having a couple of technical glitches before I say anything else. I want to let everybody know. When I switch it back to programming on the replay side here on the station, You may have to refresh the page or refresh the feed. It may glitch out. If it starts to stutter, just simply refresh the page. If you've got the app open, just refresh the app. It's that simple. So, I think that covered everything. I'll give you the quick rundown. Starting with Wednesday, June 3rd, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, the To Be Determined show with the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, the Grand Design Clyde Braddock, and of course Angie Nemesis coming on board. There's going to be a lot to talk about coming out of global warfare. Wick's been real quiet, and so have a lot of other people. Thursday, June 4th, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, the show with Ted Guinness, all things WWE, and then some, and you know Ted's going to have a lot to go for. I imagine he's going to be running both barrels, especially on that I told you so part, because he called the Kevin Owens clean pin. It's in his replay. You can listen to it. It's also in rotation. This coming Sunday, the trifecta is back in full force. June 7th. Beyond Ringside Live, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central, 3:30 Pacific. Yours truly, along with Mark Mabo Bowman of the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis. Wrestle Rage Radio with Mark Rage and Stan, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. And the Midnight Black Mass, back at its regular time, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. I'm laughing because of what happened last week, and I was invited to come sit in on a brand new game show that they have, or a segment they have going on the Midnight Black Mass. You have to hear it to believe it. And that's all I'm going to say. Oh, the Midnight Black Mass with Reverend Dan Wilson and Andrew Alexander. It's going to get crazy. Also, comic book fans, don't forget, over at PODDY Humor, Potty Humor over on YouTube, you can also catch the new episode of Get Your Pulls. If you haven't checked it out yet, I guarantee it, you're going to like it. And Back to Basics will be returning Tuesday, June 9th. At our regular time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Thank you for hanging out. I'll use the phrase that you've heard in the rotator. I hope you've enjoyed the ride. But you know something? This roller coaster just keeps getting better. Until next time, this is the Magic City Motor Mouth. Screw that part. I am the Magic City Motor Mouth. Fast Eddie Layne saying adios, das vidania, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, sayonara, arrivederci, farewell, abazinho, au revoir, and until we meet again, aloha means bye-bye. Join us right here next time as we all go beyond ringside. And yeah, sometimes you gotta keep it back to basics. Bye for now.